So, this is day 2 of me turning inner work into real life out loud. So, just to know, I'm in a season of self discovery, which means that I'm just processing things about myself in real time. So, it doesn't mean that I have all the answers, I'm just processing it. So, that's the season that I'm in, is self discovery, just, processing out loud. So I do have notes because I'm someone who will veer off mid conversation and talk about different things and then get back onto the subject. So today I want to kind of talk about how do you show up as your authentic self when most places require you to show up as someone slightly different. And what that means is that as I'm going through self discovery, the inner work, I realized that I never questioned who I am, internally until last week doing therapy. Um, and it was just random when that thought came up. And I bring this conversation up because when I think about where I'm headed and who I'm trying to become, I think that the core foundation of progressing through this path is me determining who I am. And so, what I found is that we tend to show up differently in professional settings, around family, when we're attending one on one calls outside of professional settings or in professional settings, maybe showing up on social media, maybe those who have multiple, like myself, who have multiple social media accounts, some for family, some for, everyone else. And then you realize, like, okay, am I showing up differently? And that's a question that I don't think people ask themselves. I think no one questions that because we just go through the motions. We're just, we have so many different things that we're doing daily that we just show up differently. That's how I look at it. And so, and last week I was having a call with my therapist, and I just realized how comfortable I was just talking. Like, it was just second nature, and it was like, okay, I didn't have to think about what I was trying to say. If you've gone to therapy, you're doing the majority of the talking, which is something that if anyone know who I am, know that that's not something that I do. And so I noticed that during therapy, I was super comfortable with talking. I didn't have to figure out what I needed to say next. And part of it is because I'm talking about my own personal life, I guess. But I feel like the way that my body felt when I was talking, it just felt I was relaxed. I was sitting in this chair, I had my feet up underneath my desk. I didn't have my fan on because I'm hot and anxious, and I was comfortable with just pausing because I didn't have the answer, or I had to think about the answer. And while we were talking, I stopped and I said, I wonder if this is my authentic self. And she just kind of paused and she looked and she said, what does that mean? And I said, because I noticed that during this one on one conversation with you, I'm so comfortable and I'm able to just talk freely. I'm not worried about what I'm trying to say next. I said, I wonder if this is who I am, the way that I was talking. I was using my hands. I was just moving my body left and right. I was just, I had facial expressions. And it wasn't even that I noticed it at first. It was just more like I stepped out of the conversation, out of the moment. And that's when I noticed it. So after that, we talked a little bit more about that. And then after I got off the call, I realized that I don't show up like that in all settings. I've had a lot of one-on-one calls. I've been in group settings. I've been in small settings where it's just 3 people, including myself. I've been in settings where there's like 5 to 10, including being on the camera, which I feel a little bit comfortable. But I realized that I'm not showing up in every setting the same way. And at the bare minimum, I should be comfortable wherever I show up at, even if it's a professional setting versus a one-on-one with my therapist. I know those are two different settings, but the baseline is I should be showing up and being comfortable. And when I sat on that call with my therapist, that's when I started to note how I was feeling when I was talking. I started to note how my conversations was flowing. I started to note how if I had to pause just to kind of think of the answer, I was able to do that and didn't feel, any type of way about that. And so that's part of why I'm sitting here talking to the camera now, because I have to feel in my body what it means to be comfortable and to recognize who I am authentically. And once I can get that down packed and I can understand that side of myself or that version of myself, then I can show up in other settings. So that's pretty much where that question came from, is just that it was not something that I explored. It was something that just came up in real time, talking about something completely different. And that's when I noticed myself. And I'm so glad that I did, because when you're doing this type of work, you should really first understand yourself, right? Of course, it's important to know who you want to become and where you're going, but understanding who you are at the core and then moving forward as that person, that's where I am. I'm so glad that that came up for me, because if not, I would still be showing up in different settings as someone that may not be who I really am. And I do understand that there's certain settings and certain places calls for you to have to show up a little bit differently. I do understand that, and that's not the level of authenticity that I'm talking about. I'm talking about your core, meaning that I don't care what situation, whether I'm on social media, whether I have two different channels or two different groups, the core of it is that I should be showing up comfortable. The core of it is that I should be showing up knowing that when I look back, that is who I am. And that is, to me, what a part of what authenticity starts with. I've seen instances where someone could be one way on social media, and then behind closed doors, or on this side, they are like completely like, that's not you. I don't want to be one of those ones that show up in one setting or show up on one social media account and then show up behind the camera like this. I just don't want to do that. I just don't want to be that person. It's a lot to keep up with the different versions of yourself, and I just don't want that for myself. It's exhausting. So yeah, I don't want that. So I'm so glad that random moment in therapy just found me. I don't feel like I'm just running out here trying to discover who I am. I think it's just in real time these moments are happening, and it's like rapidly. So, and I'm happy about that, because I think that as I'm becoming her, I think that this is the foundation of this next version of myself. This is a lot. But this is it, yeah, I mean, I probably said a bunch of nothing, but I'm okay with that, because I guess over time it'll get better. So yeah, so I'm on day 2 of 30 days, I think. Yeah, 30 days. And this is all about me turning 2 years of inner work into real life out loud. And again, it's just, I'm in a season of self-discovery. So that means that I'm processing out loud. It means that I don't have all the answers. It means that if I have to pause mid-sentence, I will. It means that if I need notes, I will. So yeah, that's just who I am. It's messy, and I'm okay with that. So this is me getting unstuck in real time. And this is, again, me Doing that inner work that I've been doing for 2 years is me turning it into real life habits, and this is day 2 of me doing that. I've been doing this before, but this is me doing it out loud. So yeah, shout out to the imperfect video, the pauses, the notes that I didn't finish, and the structure that might be all over the place, but we'll see what day 3 brings. Thank you.